Hello. Yeah, I fancied nettles. I didn't fancy nettles. I fancied doing another video. Actually, I mean, I've been tagged. I was tagged by James. Time Warp Retro Tap. I can't remember what his channel name is, but yeah, he tagged me in 10 games with memories attached tag, and it's taken me a while to do it. I should wait for a nice day. And also around here there aren't many places where there's no one, and I wanted to get out. I've got bored. I've got bored with sitting in front, sort of seeing myself sat in front of my computer, sort of every time I want to make a video. So I thought, this time I'll charge my GoPro because it wasn't charged. I'll take it out, but then there's people everywhere around here, and I've long since realised that I'm not one of those people who can just walk down a busy high street chatting to their phone or to their GoPro or to their camera or whatever. You know, I'm a little bit self-conscious, so I thought I'd wait for a nice day, try and figure out where I could take my camera, where I wouldn't be disturbed. And there's a sort of so there's houses there, so this is nice. And this, apparently, I've never been down here, I've lived here for years. Whoops, I left a pair of pants in the grass. No, I've lived here for years, never been down here. I know where I am, but I don't know where I'm going. That sounds quite profound. It's not as profound as it sounds. That rhymes. No, I thought I'd, but apparently this should be quite quiet. This is sort of like a dog walker's place, and at the moment I'm not seeing many dog walkers. But it's nice, actually. Oh, look at that! Look, you're not going to be able to see it because this has got a wide angle lens. But that is a buzzard, or I think, or a kite. It'll look like a little speck on this camera, but it's up there, believe me. So yeah, I've been tagged. I thought I'd dig out my rucksack and my £30 Decathlon walking shoes and try and pretend that I'm out on a day hike. I suppose I am, really. If I walk slowly, maybe there'll be enough, you know, space for me to do this video before I get to the other end, when I get to like a high street somewhere. But yeah, yeah, it's a tag video, 10 games with memories attached, which, you know, it's quite exciting to do because it gets the old nostalgia juices flowing. And I suppose if we're honest, all games have some sort of memory attached. I suppose it's like a really specific time and a place it evokes. Playing a game, you know, evokes those memories. So yeah, 10 games, and with memories attached. Shut up, get on with it. So yeah, I'm going to cut here and then I'll move on to number one. I'll consult me. I've got a little list because I knew there was no way I was going to remember all of it. So oh, there's someone over there. So, and that, no, it's not, it's a crow. But yeah, so yeah, I've got my list. I'm going to consult my list and decide what to go with. So yeah, this is number one. It's a bit of a no-brainer for this one, for me. This one actually, it's Mortal Kombat on the Mega Drive. 'Cause playing that, the thought of that game takes me right back to when I was about 17, 18, sort of A-level age. I was doing my A-levels, and I used to hang out with my best mate from school, Adam. I'm still mates with him now, although he's moved away. He's got kids, and I've not seen him for a while. And my mate Nigel, and Adam's mate Raph, and Simon, and our Raph's mate Simon, and then Raph's and Simon's mate Ryan. There's a little gang of us, and we used to spend hours sat in Raph's room in his house, because his room was the converted garage, and so it was like right down next to the front door, and we'd spend hours in there. They'd be probably smoking weed, with homemade bongs, quite often, out of Coke bottles. I'm not into that game. It's not my bag. But I would take my Mega Drive around, because I was the only one with a Mega Drive, and I'd got Mortal Kombat, and I'd take it over there, and they'd either be sort of getting stoned, and I'd have to sort of sit there, because that's always fun, isn't it? Or listening to Iron Maiden, because Raph was into Iron Maiden. Again, not my bag, but that seemed to be what went on. And then either that or playing Mortal Kombat just constantly, just 6 of us. And it's a very specific memory, because it was shit. I don't think I've trodden it. See, dog walkers, clear up your shit. Yeah, so I don't actually have Mortal Kombat, because that would be one massive nostalgia hit. So I might actually go and buy it off eBay when I get back. But, I mean, that particular time, it seemed to be a lot of my sort of funniest stories are from back then. We were idiots back then. And particularly my mate Nigel, and I've got so many stories. I'm even contemplating doing a video of stories about what Nigel did when he was drunk. Because there's loads of them. Some of them involve me, some of them are just him. Ooh, it's a horse. I think I'm allowed to go this way, I don't know. And it's just very evocative of a time and a place. And yeah, Mortal Kombat when I was 17, 18, and I might even tell you some of the stories, the things we used to get up to back then. But that's for another time. So yeah, maybe listen out for them or look out for them. I don't know. Right, on to number 2. Right, this one will be quicker. Football Masters on the Mega Drive. Jesus Christ, get it right. Football Masters on the Amiga. When I was around about probably 13, 14. Again, my best mate from school, Adam, he had an Amiga. At the time, I only had an Amstrad CPC 464. He had an Amiga, and he was part of the sort of like the little community at our school. People who would share Amiga games. We had a lot, copy games for each other. And he was also a member of the Junior Gunners, and often our Saturdays would be Saturday afternoon. We'd go down to the Junior Gunners, and I'm not a Gunners supporter by any stretch of the imagination, but we'd go down to the Junior Gunners, watch a match, then we'd go back to his house. If we were lucky, his parents would be out, because they were quite often out, so we were given free rein. Not that they're not strict or anything. I mean, his mum's terrifying. But quite often we were left to our own devices, which was nice, and we'd just sort of like, we were both quite responsible, quite boring like that, but we wouldn't fuck shit up or anything, but we'd just have the house free, and we'd arse about, and often play Football Masters on his Amiga, and that would go on till sort of whatever time in the morning, even though, at that age, I don't know. What age do you start staying up at all hours? I suppose it's that time. But yeah, Football Masters, and it was just it was the first proper manager game I ever played, and it showed me how addictive they could be, and it really made me want an Amiga. But that wasn't going to happen because I was poor. And I ended up getting my Game Boy, but yeah. And then I remember Robert Rosario, who played for Coventry. This is how far back we're going. Robert Rosario, who played for Coventry, was one of the best strikers. So that's the sort of era we're talking about. But yeah, and I've watched back a few videos, and it does sort of like strike a nostalgia chord, and it gives me all the feels in the right places, as they say. So yeah, Football Masters on the Amiga. Now I know for a fact I've mentioned this one before. I might as well keep walking, I think. I'm just standing here. But yeah, Goldeneye on the N64, obviously. When I first went to university, there was this really funky bar called the North Pole in Winchester, and it was the first time I ever played an N64, because they had one in the back, and they had like 4 controllers and like a whole selection of games. Remarkably, they didn't get nicked. I don't know. I mean, at this day and age, they would definitely get nicked, but back then, they didn't get nicked, and I've definitely mentioned this before. I know for a fact I have. This is something I've definitely mentioned in a video in probably years back. But yeah, and often sort of like Sunday evening, we'd go down there, and it's like really chilled out, and wait for an opportunity to have a go on Goldeneye, and there'd be 4 controllers, and we'd play like death matches, and then we'd all argue over who was going to use Odd Job, because obviously Odd Job's like the broken character for those games. But it just seemed a bizarre thing to have an N64 in the back of a pub, or it was more of a bar, and it was quite a funky, trendy place. But it didn't last long, and then it went out of business while I was there. Maybe they lost a load of money buying up N64 games. But yeah, those were good times. Not that they lasted very long. Right, yeah, on to number 4. I can see people ahead, so I'm going to slow down a bit. I don't want to catch up with them. Not that, I'm just self-conscious, that's what it is. Self-conscious. Yeah, another one from university, Resident Evil. I've literally no idea where I'm going. Like I said, never been along here before. It's nice though. Yeah, Resident Evil. This is from my very, very early days at university. I lived in a house with 1 bloke and 8 women. Before I'd even applied to university, I had literally no idea what the mix of men and women was, because it was an art school. I got there and we were told, oh yeah, it's 80% women, and we went, shit. All the heterosexual blokes, and anyone really, I suppose, sort of like. But yeah, I'm catching up here. I'll slow down a bit. I'll walk back this way. Anyway, that's sort of irrelevant. But yeah, so I was at this art school with all of these women, and it was sort of well, but without being too coarse, everyone got some that year. Then we all got to know each other, and then the second year no one got anything. But during the sort of like the getting pissed, get to know you stage, and then they realise how much of an idiot and a twat you are, and then they wouldn't touch you with a barge pole. But in those early stages, sort of like, anyway, it was good fun. But I remember moving into this house with all these 8 women going shit in a sort of good way, and having my my PS1 and my telly, and in a weird way trying to use my PS1 as a sort of like a pulling tool, and I'd prop my bedroom door open, and so that they could sort of like, because I was on the bottom floor, me and Nick, the other bloke, were on the bottom floor, and all the women were upstairs in this sort of 3-story house, and I think the idea was that or the blokes on the bottom floor, like if anybody came in and started stabbing people, then we'd be the best to, I don't know, put up a fight. I don't know. That's what I did here. Although that sounds nuts. Anyway, yeah, and I'd propped open this door and I'd sit there playing my PlayStation, hoping that one of the girls in my house would walk past. Any one of them, I wasn't bothered. Hoping one of them would walk past, and I could tell them about my PlayStation, and we could play. I don't know. I'd show them one of my games, so to speak. And Resident Evil was one particular one. I've definitely mentioned this story before. I haven't got that many stories, or maybe I've got lots of stories. I just talk a lot. That's probably closer. But yeah, and I remember the two particular girls sort of like coming in my room, and when I was playing Resident Evil, and I thought, yeah, this is brilliant. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to show them that scary bit at the beginning where the zombie grabs your leg and it makes everyone jump. Because I wasn't far enough in to get to the bit where the dogs burst through the window. I hadn't sort of like got a save point at that point, you know. But I played it up to that point, but I didn't have a memory card sort of save. But oh, someone on a bike. So yeah, suffice to say that pulling technique did not work. So yeah, on to the next one. Number 5 now. It's getting a bit more busy. Going to have to be quicker. More PS1. Time Crisis. Time Crisis is evocative of a very specific time in my life. I think it was what was it? I've got a feeling it was pre going to university. I got it one Christmas. I got the box set with the G-Con one Christmas, and just played it solidly. I seem to remember it wasn't the Millennium Year. It might have been the Millennium Year. That Millennium Christmas. I can't remember. I remember playing it solidly, and I got really, really, really good at it. And I sort of like, you know, like did go out a bit that Christmas, but I remember I got to the point where I developed this technique where I'd sit as close as I could to my telly on this little stool, and I'd have my G-Con right up against my eye like this, and I knew where all of the enemies were going to pop out, and I just sort of, I couldn't quite no-hit it, or I think I could one credit it, maybe at a push one credit the game, but I got really good, and that was my Christmas. It might have been 99, 2000, I can't remember, but yeah, Time Crisis, good times. I've moved on. I need to be a bit more, I don't know, there's more people about now, so I have to be a bit more choosy about where I am. No, what does that make? That makes no sense. Anyway, yeah, I think it's number 6. Number 6. Let me just consult my list. I did have a quick look at it. Yeah, number 6 is a bit different. Often, a lot of these, I had to narrow it down a lot. I could have gone with so many different arcade games. Some I can't remember the names of, but I just remember playing them in specific times and places, and often holidays, or you know, there were certain places that would have arcade games. And this particular place was when it was the local leisure centre. It's called Pickett's Lock. It's not there anymore. It's been knocked down. I think they knocked it down and put up a cinema, right out, quite far away from where I lived. I think there's a cinema. I think that might have even gone now, or whatever else was left there is gone, and it's now like some sort of like indoor, sort of fancy like athletics centre where you like proper athletes go. But back when I'm talking about, there was this just bog standard leisure centre there, and it's where I learnt to swim. And also my sister would go there, because my sister was, when she was little, she was into gymnastics and did it for quite a long time. And I think Friday nights was one of her training sessions, and we'd go down there, and for whatever reason, I can't remember, I'd have to go down there. I think my mum and dad would go down there and we'd all wait there for some reason. I don't know why I had to go as well, why I couldn't stay at home. But I remember being really knackered whenever I was there, because it would go on to like 10 o'clock and I was like quite a little kid. And my bedtime was like 8 o'clock or half 8 or something. But yeah, but the thing is, I'd pass the time, I'd sort of badger my mum and dad or whoever was, you know, waiting with me. I'd badger them for 10p to go in the arcades, because they had loads of arcades. And specifically, the only ones I can remember, there were loads. I think they weren't all in one little bunch. They were like dotted about. I remember they had 1942. I played that a lot. They had Time Pilot, which I'd totally forgotten about until I saw it mentioned in somebody else's video. But the one that's really evocative of that time was Track and Field. Is Track and Field. I always forget what the name is, because you know, give me some slack. I was a kid back then, but I'm sure it's Track and Field. And I put 10p in, and I could win the. I could win 100 metres with my eyes closed. Then it'd get a little bit tricky after that. If I had to time the button presses, it was basically a bit of a sort of hit and hope thing, and then it was luck if I got through to the next round. I remember failing miserably on the hurdling. It was a fluke if I got a decent long jump or a javelin. I don't think I ever got to the high jump. I can't remember. But you don't really care when you're a kid. You just sort of like, it's the sort of the wonder and the appeal of playing this machine and it making it do whatever you want it to do, or you know, within the parameters of the game. And I haven't played that arcade machine in years, and if I ever do it, it'll be a massive nostalgia hit. So that one was a Track and Field arcade. Again, yeah, good times. Number 7, I think this is. Now this is another arcade game. This one, again, has a very specific time and a place. This is a holiday this time. I mean, there's so many different arcade machines that I can remember playing on different holidays, and each one is linked to the other. Each one's linked to a specific holiday, and like I've mentioned, Radmobile. That was a good one. Radmobile. I'm not going to mention that story in the past because I've probably mentioned it too many times. Radmobile. What was the other one? Beastbusters. But I don't know where I'm going. I'm just walking. I don't think I'm meant to be up this one. But but the one I'm going to pick is what was it? Shaolin's Road. That's it. Shaolin's Road. I think it was the second time I'd ever been to Spain on holiday. It wasn't Spain, it was Mallorca. My parents took us to Palma Nova, sort of like just near Magaluf. Obviously too young to go to Magaluf because I was about 7 or 8, I think. And we went to Palma Nova, really dirt cheap holiday because the hotel wasn't all that, but it was quite sort of homely and sort of friendly, but a bit small. And you know, I remember the food being shite. They gave us chips with everything. But they had one arcade game, and it was Shaolin's Road. Now this is definitely something I've mentioned before. Shaolin's Road. It's like a single screen sort of brawler, I suppose, like a platform brawler, and it's one of those ones, sort of one kick, and you get rid of the you defeat the enemies on one punch. And some people up there, so I'm going to start walking back this way. And what's really stuck with me was if you ever completed a screen, he would sort of flex his muscles, and then there'd be a little speech bubble that would go guts, and that just that blew my mind as a little kid. Oh, this is brilliant! How good is this? You're like this bloke duffing up ruffians, and then he just goes guts. It's a fairly minor detail, but it sort of it made the game for me. It made the memory. It was like I can remember telling him, "Oh, she's so good." He says guts at the end. But if to be honest, if he hadn't said guts, I'm not sure I'd remember the game. I don't know. It's fairly sort of a run of the mill, I think, if I remember rightly. But I always remember those sorts of little details. So, guts. I've missed one out. I forgot one. I go this way, go back up this way. They've gone wherever they've gone. I don't know where they've gone. But... oh, yeah, I'm going to go this way. I've missed one. On my little list, I'd underlined stuff, but I forgot to underline one, so I missed it. It's which one did I pick? This was another University PlayStation 1 story. I think I picked. It was a choice. Basically a choice between Tekken 3 or Crash Team Racing. In the third year, I'm going to pick Crash Team Racing, I think. In the third year, this is again another story I've definitely mentioned before. In the third year, we four of us had a house, and we had this tiny little 14-inch telly. And in the, you know, when you're at university, anybody who's been to university, sort of like a lot of the time spent going to the pub, not doing work, but going to the pub. And on like a Saturday night thing, we'd go to the pub, go to the Union, you know, go to one of the late bars. There'd always be a late, like one establishment in the town that would have a late licence, and it would always change, and everyone would get to know it, and then that one would always be really busy after all of the other pubs had shut. Oh, that's not well done. Yeah, and in the third year we'd go back to our house, often absolutely twatted, and we'd stick on the PlayStation, and I think if we were we would play a lot of ISS Pro. No, it wasn't ISS Pro, but International Superstar Soccer Pro, but that wasn't sort of an after pub thing. I think Crash Team Racing, because I had a multi-tap. Crash Team Racing was one we could all play, and I liked playing it because I was good at it and it was my game, so I'd practiced a lot and I could win. I couldn't win Tekken 3. No, I could win Tekken 3. That was still my game, actually, to be honest. But Crash Team Racing, I knew all the tracks, so I liked playing it. And we would play often play arena battles and stuff like that. But it was just on one particular occasion I can remember we used to play on a little tiny little really temperamental 14-inch telly, and my mate Dave had glasses, or has glasses, and his eyesight wasn't brilliant, and we'd come back from the pub absolutely twatted. We'd put on Crash Team Racing with a split screen local multiplayer, and we'd have a whale of a time, but it would send him up the wall because his eyesight wasn't brilliant, and he'd have to basically really focus on one tiny little corner of a 14-inch television. I remember in one particular occasion it sort of sent him loopy, and he nearly had like a breakdown because it sort of like his mind had gone a bit funny because he was, you know, a combination of drink and sort of concentrating on eyesight and staring at this little quarter of a tiny little 14-inch television screen. But the rest of us thought it was hilarious, but I don't think he did. But yeah. So yeah, Crash Team Racing. I think these two are interchangeable. I'm actually, what's this? No idea what this is. I don't think I'm meant to go up here. There's a gate here. There's a big road or a path. I saw two women walking this way. Oh, it's a bridle. That's what it is. It's from the horse place. It's a bridle path. Can I go in here? These two games are interchangeable. What is a... No, it isn't. I thought there was a footpath sign. It's not. I think the park. Don't think meant to be up here. I'm guessing that says private, no public access. Right. Let's head back this way then, before any farmers with farmers on quad bikes and with shotguns come and chase me off their land. But yeah, these two interchangeable. This is going back probably the earliest of the games I've chosen. It's a Gauntlet 2. This is like I said, I had my first ever machine was an Acorn Electron, but it didn't work, and my dad took it back and then he replaced it with an Amstrad. And Gauntlet and Gauntlet 2 were two of the games I remember playing the most, because I remember that you could play it constantly as long as, as a two-player, as long as one of you was alive, and then if one was alive, then another one could just hop back in when they died, and then we could go on for ages. Me and my sister played, because my sister's never been into video games, but that one I remember playing with me a lot, and it was just really, really good fun. We'd sort of like sit there for hours, just going through all these random dungeons. They weren't randomly generated, were they? Gauntlet dungeons. Often, I think, maybe because it was like a Mega Drive version, probably a little bit rough around the edges, you'd find yourself in a no-win situation where you'd run out of keys and you wouldn't be able to open the right door and you just have to turn it off. But that was part of it, I think. And I remember how terrifying it would be when you'd encounter a death. You just hope you had a potion. You'd go, death, and you'd absolutely bolt it, but then the death would come after you. And it was so it's a game. This game I'd sort of really like to play, but I bet it doesn't quite hold up to my memories. But still, that was, I mean, and the little evolutions of Gauntlet 2. They had weren't they the enemies? They were called It. Was it It? I don't think I'm making it up. It was It, and where if it touches you, then all of the monsters go after you, and then you have to touch your teammate, and then all the monsters go after them. And there wasn't there another one, It and that. Or am I making that up? I don't think I am. But yeah, Gauntlet and Gauntlet 2. That's about the only sort of real time I can remember me and my sister playing sort of like a real solid amount of sort of game time on my Amstrad, and one of us would have the keyboard, and the other one would have probably a Quickshot 2 Turbo. As long as the micro switches were still working, because we would obviously often play Daley Thompson's Decathlon on it, and which would absolutely fuck it up. Yeah. But yeah, Gauntlet or Gauntlet 2 interchangeable. I'm a bit of a cop out on that one. I couldn't choose. Right, I think this is the last one. I think I've done 10. It's probably getting on a little bit now, so I'll make it quick. Again, another PS1 game. This is pre-university though. This is 90. I think it's 97. This is a bit of a game changer. This choice. I was doing my foundation. It's something you do if you're going on to do art degrees. You do a foundation to basically help you figure out what particular discipline you want to go into. And I was on my foundation course, and still, I think still into gaming. I don't really remember a time when I wasn't. I remember times when I wouldn't play it for months, but I would always have some sort of console, and I'd still always be interested. And I had a PS1, and I knew what my tastes were, but I also knew that I was aware of other games of games that never came to the UK. And I found it really frustrating. I'd read magazines and you'd see like Japanese games or American games, and I thought I would love to play those, but they just never came to our country. And this particular game, you might be able to guess what it is. It's a bit of a game changer, and it was the only game I've ever bought on release day. And again, I know for a fact this is yet another story that I've mentioned before, but it's the only game I've ever bought on release day. I had to go all the way up to Tottenham Court Road. No, not Tottenham Road, Oxford Street, because it was the only branch of game that I remember was close. It was the closest branch of game, and that's how things have changed now. I mean, back then it was the closest branch of CEX was in Rathbone Place, not too far from there, and the closest branch of game was Oxford Street, and I had to go all the way up there. And I suppose, now when you're that age, I would have been 19, 20 probably. You're not really bunking off, are you? You know, you're not obliged to be there. I'm not breaking the law, but but I just realised maybe it's this bit that's private and I'm not meant to be. Probably, I think that might be the park up there. That gate that I went in, that one was probably all right to be in, and it's this bit I'm not meant to be in. But shit. But yeah. And this particular game, I thought I'd read all the magazines. I was really I sort of bought into the hype, and it's never really been something I've done much of, buying into hype. But I suppose it's different now because there's so many different places to influence you and ways to influence the punters. But what's that? That's don't know what that is. Like a sparrowhawk or something. You're not going to see that. That, can you hear that noise? Is that no. I thought it might be a woodpecker, but yeah. This game was a game changer. I'd read all the magazines, I'd read the reviews, and I was just waited. It seemed to take hours, like months or years to actually come to these shores, and I was so desperate to play it because I knew that my tastes were sort of underrepresented as far as sort of games were concerned, and we'd missed out on so much in this country. And I'm talking about RPGs, obviously, because that's just like a common memory of being really envious of people in other countries who got to play all these games I wanted to play. Because I think there was this assumption amongst there's another bird of prey. They're fucking everywhere. Well, I'm complaining. It's a nice thing. It's a good thing. Yeah, there was this assumption amongst the people who release games, the publishers, that people in this country, particularly, I think, weren't interested in JRPGs. They'd been released, but they would always been a niche. I'd played I'd played Phantasy Star 4. I'd not played 2 or 3. I played Shining Force. I played some fairly middling, if I'm honest, probably more Western style RPGs on the Mega Drive that didn't really seem to work. All the JRPGs seemed to make sense and seemed to work better. Seemed to be more playable, made easier to play. But then this one was the one that opened it all up, and it showed the publishers that people in this country did want to play JRPGs. And obviously I'm talking about Final Fantasy VII, and I remember playing it solidly, and this is, I went up to game, bunked off college. I got myself a free t-shirt because I bought it on day one. Came home, played it solidly, and this was before I'd really understood how to play JRPGs, and before I understood that level grinding was a thing. And somehow I got through to the final boss and just got my arse absolutely handed to me on his second iteration, and couldn't get any further. But then the whole thing blew my mind because it made sense. It was the atmosphere. I loved Final Fantasy games from that era in particular have this sense of melancholy. I think all the best JRPGs do. I can't understand why. With this sense of sort of melancholy and isolation and it's like sadness. I mean, I think Final Fantasy 9 absolutely nailed it for that feeling. And I know Final Fantasy 7 had it in spades. 8, a bit less so. 8, don't know, but Final Fantasy 7, it was 1997, and I was bunking off college, and it felt like a game changer. And it was just, you know, I don't think I'd ever been happier. So, right, shit, that's it. I don't know how long this video is. Hopefully it won't be too long. But yeah, thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for my next video. I've got my next pickups video is probably the best one I've ever had. Honestly, a couple of fucking blinding bits of good fortune, just bizarre, weird fortunes. Just sort of like I'd sort of bought a load of games in often in charity shops, and you know, middling, nothing too spectacular. But recently, and people, if you follow me on Twitter, you might know particularly one of these. Recently, the fortune's just gone like that. It's just nuts. So it's made me think maybe I should be doing the lottery. But I know it don't work like that. But I've been lucky. I've been lucky in two particular ways. So that'll be in my next pickups video. So look out for that. And yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah. This is a bit of a nice change, isn't it? It's a nice day. Nice day. We're actually in in London here. This is London. Honest. Don't believe me, do you? Right. I'll let you go. Yeah. Keep an eye out for my pickups video and see you later. Cheers. Thanks for watching.